all. Stumbling around, you've been guessing your direction. Next time you can see it all.
Alright, welcome back to, I want to say Impulsive, but that's not the one. Free Branding, I guess. That's another podcast I listen to. But welcome back to Love Can't Be Stupid, because it really can't. And, you know, if it was, then what would love be? You can't really make fun of love, because love is love. But thank you for joining in again. As always, this is our third podcast. We really appreciate you coming in. And then we have a special guest again.
Yes.
We have a lot of guests lately. But so this is Caleb.
Yes.
So I went to school with him. Just in a little introduction for you. And went to school with him since 10th grade. I transferred over to this one school that we met at, and he was the first face. He was the kindest face, the first person that I really acknowledged that was there, and he wanted to be my friend instantly. And so that's a thing I haven't really touched on too much before, but I really do appreciate that, because that's why we're sitting here at the age of 21 and 22 now.
Yeah.
So that's really dope. And you expressed to me that you're also a believer, and this is a podcast based off of faith and mental health and addiction and the struggles that you go through on a day-to-day life.
Right.
And so you're a believer, and that's a great thing, because that's our vision for people.
Yes.
To help them, and not for ourselves, but for the glory of God. And that's a thing that I think that we all struggle with. Me as well. Because I want to help myself and feel like I help other people, but I got to get rid of that ego, and because all of this is for for God's will, and we're all doing that. But you had said to me that you were adopted. This is way back that you said this.
Yes.
And you had said you were talking to a therapist about being adopted, and I think that was very smart, because when you're adopted, like that's a big thing. You were adopted at the age of 3, and I was adopted at the age of 1. Not a lot of people know that, and.
Now you know.
Now you know. The more you know, you learn something new every day.
Right.
But I think you were smart by going to a therapist and talking about it. And what led you to that decision?
I think hearing other people's stories, people meet therapists and they're like, yeah, I just went off 2 hours of talking to this therapist about everything, and you kind of feel better after it. And then when you look into health-wise, it's kind of like a brain exercise, because your brain is focusing on all the topics that you're talking to this therapist about. Mm-hmm. So I think finding that out, that someone did that, I'm kind of just like, okay, I just need to find the right words, what to say, and just let it all out. I mean, she's a therapist for a reason, and, you just have to make sure you hit the right points, and then once you're there connected, and she says she has listening ears and she understands, then just let it out.
Of course. And it also helps to talk to a complete stranger. I mean, you get to know them at first. Like there's a stage where you get to know your therapist and kind of get to know what the topics are that you want to touch on. And it's kind of like the suicide hotline. When you're struggling with something, it's you want to reach out to some random stranger that's never met you, doesn't know who you are, doesn't even know what you look like.
Right.
And this is the first time you guys are talking, but you talk so deep, and that's why it's there. The only thing that I would differ is that it takes so long for when you call, they're like, oh, please hold.
Right.
For like an hour, dude, I swear.
Right.
I wish but again, there's that just puts it into perspective of how many people are actually struggling and how many people are actually calling the hotline.
Right.
And, with a therapist, I think a lot of people struggle with, I just want to lie to them and manipulate them just because my parents are making me go.
Right.
And not a lot of people are, at least our age, are wanting to go to a therapist. I know a few, and it's very impressive, and it's such a good thing, because that's like they really are there to help you if you really let go, because you don't have to talk to anybody else about it's confidential.
Right.
And people don't understand that. Like, I guess the younger kids, I mean, we're only 21, we're kids too, but younger than us, they like my sister, for example, she wants to manipulate and lie to the therapist, but for what reason? To make yourself feel better about yourself? I don't know. I used to do that. I used to play games with my therapist, but you did the right thing to like reach out and actually try to get to know yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And as with adoption, like without a therapist, how did you handle that? Because that's a big shock. Because you were adopted at the age of 3, you said?
Yeah. Adopted at the age of 3. It is definitely, a lot of talk, because like, when you get adopted, there's a certain age to where when you're a minor, they could come back for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So during that time, I woke up every single day. You see those movies out there of, drama movies revolved around that, and you're, going to school, and then you think, oh shoot, is my mom just somehow gonna perhaps come here
Mm-hmm.
and want to see me?
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like in that freak out mode to where you're just at home with this life, and then all of a sudden your mom comes back. So there's life up to where you're kind of like not knowing where to go, or then you're telling people about it, and they're kind of like, well, she's not going to come back, but then you're also thinking, well, I'm going to go find her then, since she told me that she's not coming back.
Yeah.
So then you put that will in your brain, and when people tell you that, you kind of just like distance it out and be like, no, I'm going to go find her. And then that's when, kind of find out to fit the right notes to talk to your therapist about it, because if you were to tell someone then they could say something to you, and you could all of a sudden just lose that to where you're like, oh, I don't care about her now. I'm not going to go search for her. I'm not going to go find her.
Right.
So having the will to talk about that to a therapist and being able to let that out to her.
It takes some strength.
And being confidential, it takes a lot of strength, because now you know that whatever you're saying, they can provide you help and provide their resources and their advice.
See, with kids that, for me being adopted and with experience, when I became kind of self-aware and self-conscious at a young age, my parents always grew up and they told me, they never like sprung it on me. They always used the word adoption, even though I didn't know what it meant, like adopted, you're adopted, and stuff like that. But they put it in such a gentle way where I understood like what it meant at a younger age eventually, without being shocked. Right. And that's something I can't thank them enough for, because like that, and it's a huge part of somebody's life, and so you need to be very fragile with it. And most kids, when they become self-aware, just like me, I wanted to go and find my mother.
Right.
And I know that that's not the right move. At the age of 15, maybe 12, I didn't know, because my brain, it wasn't developed, and that's a real thing, a real deep thing that a lot of people don't really touch on or even think about. But I could not think of not going to see my mother. But it's not because she gave me the ultimate sacrifice. Same with yours.
Right.
And to this day, we don't know exactly why it was. I know that my mother could not financially help me, and she wanted something better for me. She wanted me to have the best life possible, even though she wanted me so bad. But she couldn't, and that's the ultimate sacrifice. I'm sure, like, I wouldn't blame her if she didn't even want to look at me right after she gave birth.
Right.
I mean, obviously, she held me for like 10 minutes, and then an hour with her family just to say goodbye. But my parents, right now, my mother and father, they were kind of hesitant to have that happen, for them to spend some alone time with me for an hour. Because in that, for an hour or even in a minute, you can just change your mind and be like, hey, nope, I want him back. I want him back. But my mother resisted, and her sister, my aunt, and my biological grandma, they were all in the room together, and they just, kind of, said their goodbyes. I don't know what it was. I was, an hour old, so I can't really tell. But, it's not that they don't ever want to see you again. It's because they want to see you so bad that they feel like they're going to get attached if they ever do see you.
Right.
And that's why they try to hide themselves. Most people, the average person that gives up their child for adoption, they stay around for the first couple birthdays. They send some postcards. On the rare occasion, they stay with them through their childhood, but that's rare.
Right.
And just to see how they're doing, just to make sure that they made the right decision. And they also have the attachment, but at the same time, it's the ultimate sacrifice. And I think that she did the right thing for you. And my dad was in the picture. I don't think that your dad was. Was he in the picture when this happened?
Yeah. He wanted the same thing as me. He wanted me to live my life and be, nice and do what I can to be myself. And then he went off to go to the army and serve, because he thought that'd be the best option rather than just giving me away and not doing anything else. He wanted to go serve the country after giving me away, because he felt with him doing that and with me knowing that it would make me even stronger. That he decided to do something that sacrifice and even sacrifice himself even more to go in the army.
Yeah,
So,
you had told me that your mom was that you found out just randomly that your mom was really going through something.
yeah.
Yeah. Like you said that she was going through a mental health crisis and just thinking about her past life.
Yeah. Is that a question?
That is a question. Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about maybe last year, which sounds forever now. But yeah, we talked about some stuff last year, and then I found out about our siblings, and with her trying to strive for the best for my siblings and me. I'm happy at where I'm at. Each day is going to be something new. Each day is going to be another challenge. But with her trying to provide life for her siblings, which are my brother and sisters, I can't put more effort onto her and put more stress on her because she already had enough stress giving me away. So if I were to put that back on her, it would kind of put two situations into nothing.
Right.
Because now we're dealing with siblings seeing that.
Now, he came out of nowhere.
Right.
What on earth is this freak doing
Yeah.
here? Like, yeah.
So as long as she can do her life and provide the best for them, and I provide the best for myself, then we're okay.
That's a crazy thing for you to say, because that takes so much strength to actually even come to the realization of that. Most people they keep hatred maybe for their biological parents, or they just are confused and they don't really think it through enough. But you have thought it very, very well through, and that's something I've very much respected you. I've looked up to you for a while, and I look up to you in a lot of different aspects, and that's just adds another one on there. And that also leads to like mental health, and like her mental health, and more importantly, your mental health right now for this podcast. Like, you said you were playing soccer and you were bullied in school just because of that you have a certain disability.
Right.
And to touch on that too, like so the disability that you have, I don't want to call it a disability, but it could be an ability. Right. Is that you have ADHD and you are on the autism spectrum, as am I. We both have the same thing, but just different levels. There's many variables to that. But how has that affected you in your life with like even socializing with people?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult with the people that you meet, because some of the people that you meet, you kind of think, in our type of brains, in my brain, I'm kind of thinking, oh shoot, what is their opinion on me? Or what is their opinion after me when I leave?
Yeah.
Or when I say that certain thing, what are they thinking?
You're an
Because to me,
overthinker.
what their response is I could find it hilarious, and to them they could be like, okay, well that's a jerk. And then you're kind of like, okay, you didn't want to have it like that. So yeah, it can get pretty stressful, because when you get to a certain age, like 20 and 22, you kind of get a little bit more irritated around immature people. So then when your disability kind of takes a turn on you and you still kind of haven't really fully matured, and mature people look at you like that, then they get on you about that, and you're kind of like, okay, now who am I now, type thing, because their spectrum is, they all of a sudden know what you're like and who you are, but to you, each day you're kind of like, okay, who am I now? What did I do the day before? What did I do, the next day? And what is this person gonna think when I shake their hand?
Did you ever feel like you were just locked in a cage at points in your life?
Yeah.
Feeling these things?
I felt like sometimes that was happening to where I was locked in a cage for sure, but people were trying to unlock me, but they didn't know how to unlock it.
Right.
So it was kind of like a lock type of mentality and a lock mindset, to where right as soon when you meet that person, you're all of a sudden in a locked cage, to where that word you just said kind of screwed everything up. So I think it's more of you putting yourself out there more, even though it's hard, because the more you do that, the more you can learn by saying, oh shoot, I just connected with that person, which I thought an hour ago thought I was a jerk, and now we're just like cool now. Right. So I think looking more into deeper thoughts about it can really help.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, the next question I had for you is how did you overcome it? But you already touched on that.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, that's See, that's perfect. That's we gotta have you on again, dude.
Right.
This is a good time. But yeah, that's like a hard part, and a lot of people struggle with that. Like, I think everybody struggles with that, especially in like middle school, and a little bit of high school too. Well, a lot in high school. I can't really say for other people, but it's. I know I felt like, oh, what are these people thinking of me? So let me like fake myself, and I've told a lot of lies in the past, and just to make myself feel cooler. And that was the worst option. I never thought they would come back to haunt me, but they did. And so then I've told the truth to some people recently about some of the lies that I've told them, and then that spikes a lot of anxiety. But afterwards, I felt so good about it. So and well, I didn't feel good about it, but I felt a sense of release. I felt like I could smile again, like genuinely, even though I was genuinely smiling before, because I just forgot that I was lying. And once you lie enough, then you start to believe it yourself.
Right.
And so when I was in high school and middle school mostly, I just acted like I wasn't myself. I didn't like really say lies. I mean, I'm sure I did. I can't really remember any of them, but I remember I came into school one time with a fake cast just because I wanted the attention so bad because I had no friends, and everybody probably thought I was crazy. But they never said anything. They never bullied me. Because I was in the special ed kid class, and they were like, "Oh, I can't bully a special ed kid. That's down bad." Well, I wasn't in this. I was in the. I had a resource room. And technically, that's special ed, but I was never with like the special ed kids either. But I was with a group of my friends that had a learning problem, and a slow learner. And it's hard for people to understand that stuff. Like when you fake it. Like, and you think about these things that other people are thinking about, that you start to overthink, and you're like, oh, should I have done this different? Oh, I could do this tomorrow just so they could like me a little better. But they've already forgotten. They don't. You're as sad as it is to say, in this day and age, you are a tiny part of their life. If you're really trying so hard to be their friend constantly, then I wouldn't say quit. But think about what you're doing and like the decisions that you're making, and if they're for you or if they're to please somebody else. And yes, it's good to be a people pleaser, but at the same time,
there comes a line and a limit to where it fits and it doesn't fit.
You need to take care of yourself first of all. You can't help anything else unless you take care of yourself. And with like anxiety, I mean, that's another huge thing. When you have anxiety, like you all thoughts go out the window. You're like, okay, you're in a panic mode. You're like, what do I honestly do with myself? But like, and that also in turn goes to depression, and that is a huge factor in our day and age now, because I think we're all cyborgs. We all have this phone in our hands. We all have a computer in our pocket. I laugh whenever I think about my teacher saying, well, you're never going to carry around a calculator in your pocket all the time. Yeah, shut up, dude. Yeah, I am.
I carry a pen and notebook everywhere I go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, literally. It's like I could start typing something up right now, and but in turn, like, back to the depression, like, that is scary, and people don't understand that they should probably go to a therapist. Like, were you ever like really, really like suicidal? Like, did you ever have like a plan? You don't have to say the plan, but like, was there ever a time in your life where you're like, yeah, that's the only ending I can see?
Yeah. Most people are kind of like, they think, dang, geez, I thought my life was supposed to be like this great, and I'm supposed to be this popular person, and then all of a sudden you're just not there in your head. So when I was in 11th grade and I dropped out to move to Northwest Passage, where I met Mr. Jake over here, from State Farm.
I don't know if that was a mistake or a blessing. Who knows?
I don't know. So basically, I had this one good friend, which in high school people sometimes say having that one good friend is better than nothing.
It gets you everything.
So
sometimes.
That one good friend that her name was Grace. So I just reached out to her because my life was horrible, and I was in sports, and like we touch on, you can't really get anywhere without being bullied. So in sports it just got even worse. So then I just reached out to her and just told her, like, I didn't really know what else to do. And she reached out to my principal, and, they got me the help that I need. But she could have just said, you know, that's your life and that's your decision, and I don't want to help you.
Yeah.
She could have just said that, but she decided to like help me, and you know, help me out through that day to get me help. Because most people, honestly, they could just say, "Oh, okay," or "Well, that's your problem." But she took the effort into helping me, and that's where I'm at today. So yeah, you know, I don't really like to get super deep about that, but
You
I
did
definitely
a great job.
Yeah,
though.
I definitely had a feeling of that.
Mhm.
But I was at the point to where I was reaching out to her, but she did the right thing by, you know, helping me out as well. Because like I said, she could have just said, "Okay, that's your problem."
And I want to touch on that too. Like, see, my girlfriend, I went through probably
Your
the
10th
roughest. Stop. Man. I went through the worst stages of my life in the last 2 years.
Right.
And in the last like year and a half now, and she could have well easily just left. And
Right.
most people would at this day and age, I think, and even throughout history.
It's pretty common.
And because I was in a terrible car accident, and I was facing prison time for almost life, and
Right.
and that weighs on a person a lot.
Yes.
Even though that none of this was like meant to happen for me, like I didn't want it to happen, and that just some stupid decision will
Right.
change your life completely, and it has. And she, throughout everything, all of my little bits and tantrums and thinking I'm not worthless and being depressed and not even reaching out to her, but she stuck with me. She gave all of her effort. She gave me everything that I could ever have wanted. But I took it so much for granted that it just became a normal to me. And that was not right. That was I treated her the worst I could possibly treat her.
Right.
And it was terrible. And you know, we're going through a few things right now personally between me and her. But for the better, and I think that all of that is for the better, because I do love this girl, and
Right.
I do see a very, very strong future with her, and she's given me everything, and I've given her absolutely nothing, and
Right.
compared to what she's given me. And so, if you're listening, Lexi, I want to say that, and it's scary to talk about it in person, but you know, I think we should have that talk relatively very soon. But anyways, not to get lovey-dovey, but you know, with having a friend like that in high school, like that's a huge thing, because I've
Right.
never been the type of person that wants to hang out with a bunch of people.
Right.
And I have a very close-knit group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, I think, depending on the person, that's better for you as in your well-being. What do you, would you, like, because I know that you haven't had a lot of friends throughout school.
Right.
Because of the disability of ADHD, and a little bit on the spectrum of autism as
Right.
well, and that's a struggle that you know, everybody doesn't go through, and that's a huge thing to touch on. But you know, would you rather be with like a group of people, or just like with a few friends, or a few really close friends?
Yeah, so I always take it in as, you know, nothing hurts as, you know, 3 good friends. You know, because like I said, 3 is better than 2, or 2 is better than 1. So when you look at it in that type of way, I think the more with those 3 friends, the more you get used to it, and the more you kind of learn skills, the more you can get friends from that, because you can learn skills, you can learn lessons in a friendship, you can learn rules, you can learn boundaries in a friendship. To where if you're in a popular crowd and you have a lot of friends, there's a lot of boundaries that can be mistaken, and a lot of people can take your friendship somewhere else, where you're kind of like, okay, now I'm in this popular crowd and there's a lot of drama going on, and we didn't go any over rules, and now they're stepping over boundaries, and now these 10 other people know about it. So that's where I said we're like number 3. You can get to know 3 good things, 3 good boundaries in a friendship, and then from that you can take that on to your next friendship.
I see with that. I mean that. See, when you get into a group of people like that, like the populars, I've never been somebody about drama. I just, that it makes me livid, dude. I swear.
Right.
Like if somebody talks about drama, like I immediately zone out. I don't.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Like it's not important to what I feel about that person, because that, for all I know, is a complete fabrication of what you think about them,
Right.
and you've come up with your mind. And for all I know, some of it is true. But like my good friend said, I wasn't there. So how can I know that that's true? And so I take everything with a grain of salt. And just drama is useless. Like
Right.
it's just to talk about somebody
Yeah.
negatively. It's
Yeah.
gossip. It's behind them, and it's. I don't know. I could go on and on about why I hate it, but it's.
Right.
And then there are some good things. Like if you're going to talk to somebody about a friend about like what they're thinking in a positive way, yes, that's cool. And
Right.
sometimes it's just to catch up. Just
Yeah.
to catch up with a person and get to understanding like what the other person has been up to, and that's cool too. But
Right.
9 times out of 10 it turns into, oh, did I tell you that they did that, or whatever it is. And so that's just, I can't. And I see, that's why I never really got into big groups of people. I
Right.
knew a lot of people at the end of high school. I had a huge group of friends, but it all just kind of tapered off because I didn't not even like consciously, I didn't even just lose them all. I just didn't talk to them. Just unconsciously, I just didn't really care too much.
Right.
But with how, like with the friend group, that must have spiked a lot of anxiety, and we touched on that too. The other thing, I'm losing my mind now. I woke up about an hour ago. Is so, there it is. So with suicide, that there's times in your life where you're like, oh, how do I help myself? How do I
Right.
reach out to have somebody else help me? And I think you did the right thing when you were talking to your therapist about all
Right.
these different things. And obviously, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that aspect,
Right.
so then I can know a little more about you. But that's a really, really hard and a super, super strong strength that you have, is to
Right.
know when to reach out and to talk to people about things.
Right.
That's something I really respect about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with being bullied, like, how did you cope with that, with your disability? Did they ever bully you because you had a disability?
Yeah, it was kind of on and off.
Mhm.
Sometimes I kind of just took it with a grain of salt, like you said, and other things were kind of just like, kind of like, what the heck? Like, how do you come up with that?
Yeah.
As you get older.
Some of these bullies are creative,
Yeah.
dude. Some of
Yeah.
them, I'll give some of them credit, but don't ever
like,
bully somebody.
Like, as you get older, you're kind of like, dang, that was pretty.
That was a pretty good one.
Tough,
That was,
but
yeah.
that you made me cry and make me skip my
Right.
class. But I kind of took it each day to where I was kind of like, be the bigger person,
Yep.
even though they're bigger than you. Find a way to be bigger than them,
Yeah, that's
and
the right
do
mindset.
and do what you can to not provide yourself as a weakness,
Mhm.
but provide yourself as a stronger person than
Yeah.
them. Because the more you do that and the more you focus on that, the more you'll always sort of wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm bigger than them. What they say can't really get to me anymore.
Even at this day and age, don't you think that some people that are the bullies, they don't think that you're being the bigger person? They obviously want the attention that you're
Right.
giving them, but
Yeah.
don't you like what? Obviously, I've never been a bully, but
Right.
so I don't even know the mindset, because like I don't.
Mhm.
I can't be mean to somebody like that. Like, that's just
No.
cruel. That's just
No.
inhumane. But they've got to, I don't know, they've got to think some different way. And I'd love to have somebody on that was a previous bully. That'd be really interesting, just to
Right.
dig down deep into their brain.
Right.
But I love these talks that we have. We don't have a lot of them. We talk over text, and
Right.
we got to hang out a little more. But this has
Yeah.
been a really, really great podcast, and
Yes, it has.
I'm still getting good at endings. That was kind of abrupt. I'm sorry, guys, but we're getting
Work in progress.
We're getting close on time. I really appreciate you coming out and being willing to talk. And I know that
Yes.
you spent money on the rides, and you're gonna
Yeah.
leave.
But hey, I
soon.
made it.
You made it, and
Yeah.
I was sitting. So my alarm rang at 6:00 this
Right.
morning, right? Because I was gonna get up at 6:00. But
Mhm.
last night I forgot to set it for 6:30 and 6:00, because
Right.
I like to give myself about 30 minutes to go back to sleep and then wake
Yeah.
up. That's the second arousing. And I was like, oh yeah, no, there's another one. And so I went back to sleep, and then my mom knocked on the door. She's like, hey Jake.
Yeah.
He's here, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, I forgot." So you got me straight up in the
Right.
morning, and I was ready to go.
Right.
And that was maybe like an hour ago, not even. But again, we appreciate you coming on here to share, how you've gone through life.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Drew sweatshirt. I love that thing.
Yeah.
But
If you want to get more, follow Justin Bieber on Amazon.
Absolutely.
It can, Yeah.
You'll get it. Yeah, but I appreciate you again, and thank you for coming
Yeah,
on. It's been a really good talk.
Yes,
I know we've had double takes, but
when you say a lot of things, you can get that relief of feeling better.
Of course. This is kind of like our therapy for people to talk to other people about it. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate that. This has been a really long journey that we've gone on. A lot of hard struggles and a lot of great things that we've talked about.
Yes.
And we got to hang out again soon.
Yes.
But again, I appreciate you for coming on and taking time out of your day. And again, with you people as well, all of you viewers, all the fans,
ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
But not like we have too many. But thank you again, whoever you are, for viewing and processing the information that we've given today. And again, this is a faith-based podcast, and we did not touch on that, which we will next time. We're going to have him on as a second time. You might be the first second guest, or the first second-time guest that we've had.
Okay.
I would really love that. We're there to help. We're there to spread awareness for what other people think about life and like bullying, the addiction, mental health, and even just struggles in your faith and struggles in your personal life. And that's what we're striving to do. And again, we're young and dumb. This is my third podcast, and I'm still learning how to outro and intro and all this stuff. That's the hardest part. You just gotta jump right in.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
Get to it.
That's what makes it easiest. But there's got to be a better way to do it. But anyways, thank you again for joining. We're always here. I have my Instagram page up for the company, and as you can tell, Gavin is not here, but he's going through a few things, and so whoever's out there, keep him in your prayers and be able to think about him on a day-to-day, because he's going through a lot right now, and we want to be there to support, and I wish that you could have met him today. That would have been dope. Again, thank you again for the millionth time for joining. We appreciate your presence, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Caleb_JDB.
Perfect, we got it. I'll put that in there.
Justin Drew Bieber. JDB.
There you go, dude. I love that.
All right.
Well, raw is real and real is raw. Thank you, guys.